Hello everybody, it is Skyler again. Today we will be continuing our series of critiquing the official maps in the video game Beat Saber. Today's a special day. We are going to be doing OST Volume 2 and a couple of the extras. So, since extras does contain a bunch of different songs, not necessarily that fit into any of these packs, we're just going to be doing a couple of them. I'm going to be doing 3 of them, the ones that I think were made closest to the time that the OST Volume 2 came out. Getting super close to OST Volume 1, that will be the last video we do in the Mapping Critique series, at least until OST Volume 3 comes out, if we decide to do that one. But yeah, I'm very excited to do OST Volume 1 Mapping Critique when we get to that, but today we will be doing OST Volume 2 and a couple of the extras. So before I start any of these mapping videos that you've seen so far, I like to talk a little bit about the background that surrounds a lot of these map packs. So when OST Volume 2 came out, these all came out as exclusive songs for the PlayStation VR when that launched. Since it was PSVR exclusive, a couple of people decided that it might be a fun project to port the games into the PC version, and by certain people I mean me. So I actually went through a lot of footage of these maps on YouTube, put them together piece by piece, made one-to-ones, and because PSVR didn't have Expert Plus at the time, I made my own levels. I ended up making 4 of these. I did Be There For You, Elixia, I Need You, Rum and Bass. I never got to finish it. I never finished Unlimited Power, because one of them got DMCA'd on the hosting website Beat Saber, and I kind of got discouraged and gave up on doing Unlimited Power's last one. But alas, they did end up making their own Expert Plus maps, and to my knowledge, they actually had these done for a long time prior to them actually being released. They had been sitting until they came on the PC version, which was the same time that PSVR also got Expert Plus, because they hadn't had it. So today we're just going to start out with Be There For You. Not really a fan of how these are mapped to nothing. Sometimes there's something super subtle in the background, but in this case it's absolutely nothing. That was kind of a face punch right there, but I've seen much more egregious versions of that in other maps. Those transfers right there were kind of lazy in my humble opinion. And those ups and decides right then were pretty fast, if I do say so myself. Because you can totally do ups and decides, but those happen super fast. And I'm still not a fan of inward slashes from the outer edges of the map. I like to call those flaccid swings, because the way you have to pull your arm in like that, it doesn't feel very powerful. It's a very weak strike. So I call them flaccid swings. Again, ups and the sides, pretty darn fast. Again, those doubles were pretty lazy too, and also inward notes again. And that was also super awkward just then. Overall, pretty good, just a couple of awkward spots that could have used some more polish. Nothing too offensive. Good map for the vanilla game. Just could use a bit more polish. A couple of awkward transitions. Fun song too. Probably the song that I like the most from all of these. Just a fun vanilla song, vanilla mapping that goes well into Beat Saber. Next up, we're going to do Elixia. I remember this one being super overmapped. Yup, yup. Well, I also recall this song being super minimalistic because I did map this one as well. So it's probably a struggle to map this up to Expert Plus, so you gotta do what you can sometimes. A little bit of motif going on right there. So a lot of people don't really like sides into ups as well. I refer to those as scoops. That's kind of a term that a lot of people do share with me as well. So if you ever see me call something a scoop, that's what I'm talking about. It's a side note into an up. Not a crossover into an up. That's something different, but a like right there. Here, let me pause it real quick. This side, if I do a right hand into that side and then into an up, that's a scoop. If I do this into an up, that's not really a scoop. That's kind of actually the natural flow out of a crossover into an up. That's kind of the natural state of where your saber should go. But if you do it this side, right, and then up, that's a scoop. You also don't see a lot of crouching walls in a lot of the modern mappings, at least at Expert Plus, especially extended duration crouch walls for like longer than 2 beats. You barely see that. And I think it's because they're scared to piss people off, because they know they piss off a lot of people when they do crouch walls. Even myself, I don't think I do crouch walls longer than 2 beats at all. That's not the most overmapped one. A little bit overmapped. A little bit. Not offensive at all. Kind of scoop heavy, so if you hate scoops, you're going to hate the map. I don't hate them that much. Just if it's super fast, then I tend to dislike them, but nothing offensive. Just like Be There For You. Good what I call vanilla mapping, and by vanilla mapping is I mean nothing too crazy. It just builds on the original mapping, expert mapping that is, for OST Volume 1. Basically, I call vanilla mapping as anything that builds on the traditional patterns that we saw on expert from OST Volume 1. So this is, I consider that vanilla mapping. Just nothing crazy, flows relatively well. A couple of funky things now and then, like scoops, crouch walls, etc. Alright, next map, I Need You. Now, I think this was the one that was extra overmapped, but time for a refresher. This was also the song I did that got DMCA'd, fun fact. It's the only song to ever be DMCA'd on the Beat Saber website. Oh yeah, Let's restart that. Those doubles were a little nutty for an intro. That will never feel good. The angles are kind of cool. Playing around with the rhythm on the red and blue switching as well. That's kind of cool. Some of the angle transitions are a little wonky though. The rhythm is switching off the webs in the background with the lead instrument. So in my version of this map, I put like a ton of bombs here because the audio is like kind of in the air, standing on its own. So I was like, why don't you just make the player raise their hands? And a lot of the patterns are making me do that here too, so. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this one was Freak. Actually, I think all of OST Volume 2 was Freak except for Be There For You. One thing I did want to note, those down notes into those angles, I think I mentioned this in another map pack critique video, etc. Downs into angles, even though they look ugly, and because they look ugly, a lot of people won't use them. If it's the best way to do the flow, then do it, even if they look ugly. If it makes the map play better, people miss less. Overall, it'll lead to better perception from the player, just because they're not missing. Even though that's an issue with a lot of mapping today, is people want the patterns to look pretty, and they will completely ignore the perfect note placements in favor of the map looking aesthetically pleasing, and I'm glad to see that, at least in vanilla mapping. We've seen this a ton already from the previous map packs, song packs, or music packs they're called. We've seen that they don't really care how the map looks, they care more about how it feels, and I agree with that sentiment. Alright, next song, Rum and Bass. A super fun song. I think this is the first song I ever mapped that was in this is 3.3 or 3.4, I don't remember, but it's you know, it uses cursor precision 1.3 and mediocre mapper. These notes are feeling a little bit claustrophobic in terms of how I'm having to angle my arms. Also not a fan of those rapid doubles either. So a lot of these patterns, at least in the intro, feel pretty random. Okay, now did you hear that hissing sound? That's supposed to be like a cannonball. The fuse on it being lit. Kind of upset we didn't see a bomb spawn in right there. We saw him there, but I'd rather have it to the hissing sound. Why was that a dot? I know they kept some of the conventions from OST Volume 1, but they completely ditched it in just later parts, in later maps. Like the dots in the top row, to an extent, are just completely ditched. Where's my bomb? I heard hissing again. Now that was kind of an oof right there. Those downs into the double sides, it just happened so damn quick. It was like, it was a 1/3. Would have much rather had those be diagonals. Which is kind of funny to see, because Freak isn't known to shy away from diagonals. As you can see in this mapping. It's almost like they were like forgotten about just for that moment. It's like, we gotta use side notes somewhere, so let's use them there. But just for the sake of consistency of flow, they should have been diagonal ups instead of double down and a double horizontal. For scoring purposes, for comfort purposes, for consistency purposes. You shouldn't have to force stuff like that. Just because you feel like you're missing out on your quotas on your pattern palette, I guess you could call it. Just because you feel like you have to have sides somewhere, or you have to have a double down into a double side because you haven't done that yet in a map, doesn't mean you have to do it. Just because it fits in there and it meets your like mental quota. And I know this because as a mapper, that's something you feel like you have to fill. It's like, I have to use so many diagonals, so many side notes, etc. But if it's going to stand out like that, it's going to be a sticking point for some people, then just don't do it. Just have the map be more consistent, more scoreable. Still was a cool map. Some of it felt really claustrophobic, like my Sabers. I feel like the angles were making me like gonna make me do like a Saber clash. If your Sabers are crossing each other when you hit a note, then you will miss it, or you will get a bad cut. And I feel like that map was forcing me into that habit a little bit too much, but overall it was pretty fun. It mixed it up a lot. There wasn't lots of copy paste in it at all, really. Maybe something got copy pasted, but I didn't even notice it because it was mixed up so well. So yeah, fun map, just like the rest of these. I enjoyed it. I wish I saw those bombs though, because I heard the hissing in the background. So that would have been just like a nice little detail to put in there. Alright, final song from OST Volume 2, Unlimited Power. So, Unlimited Power is the only song from this pack that was produced in-house by Yaroslav himself. These four right here were acquired from independent artists. So this is the one that's in-house. Also, kind of a shame to see that this pack has only 5 songs in it. I really don't like that it has 5 songs, because this has 10, 7, 10, 10, and then of course your custom songs. And if you're going to have only 5 songs right here, it's taking up space. It's taking up valuable space down here. Because, you know, it's paginated. You have to click this button. And just 5 songs are taking up this whole block of space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 spots. I know I've seen in screenshots that they've been teasing a bigger bar at the bottom, I think. Or maybe my memory is not serving me right. But I feel like this OST Volume 2 was really rushed at 5 songs. It's taking up a lot of valuable space. And honestly, I think this would be a lot better if it was horizontally or vertically paginated. Because the way that navigation works currently, let's say you go to custom maps, you use up and down to navigate through lists, and this is technically a list. So scrolling up and down would make more sense, but then again, you would need space right here for the up and down arrow, and it would kind of clash with the padding, like right in that spot right there, whereas this is kind of free on the right, at least for now, until the scoreboard pops up, and it kind of overlaps with that, but this probably looks prettier to them, but because of situations like this, taking up space, I think it would be better going up and down. And also there's less movement. Like if you click this, all of those have to move over. Like this, or this right here, Imagine Dragons song pack, look how far it has to move over when I click that button. It moves over 2 whole spots versus everything consistently moving up and down. I know this is supposed to be a mapping critique, but just a little thought I had when I saw that this only has 5 songs in it. So anyways.
We're playing Beat Saber. We're playing, yeah. I got the power. I got the power. I got unlimited power. I got the power.
So, I can already tell so far that this is a bit different from the other maps. Nah, I can't do this song like that. We're gonna redo that. But this song's a little different, I can already tell. So far, I haven't seen any angled notes. They're all just straight downs and sides. And stuff like this is a stylistic choice. There was an angle. A little bit of a scoop.
I'm coming closer. Victory is mine. I'm making history this time. I'm living this moment, living the only, giving up only when my score is higher. Can I find no one better than me? You cannot cover my delicacy. You cannot follow my legacy. Please, 'cause I'm a phenomenon and carrying on, 'cause I can go on and everything else you can say for later. We're playing Beat Saber.
And then a little bit of a time signature change right there too. Yaroslav basically saying I've got a music degree too. Super fun. Also kind of angular. Might not make a lot of people happy. Historically, I've liked a lot of angles, a lot of 45-degree angle blocks in Expert Plus, the diagonals, just because they make flows a lot better in transitioning between, let's say, a down and a side note. Stuff like that just makes transitions a lot smoother, but I think this was a stylistic choice because this is the only in-house produced map. And as you can recall from OST Volume 1, a lot of the expert maps in that were super angular as well. Not a lot of diagonals were used in it, so I think that's kind of like a callback. So I believe that was intentional. The flow isn't the best because of it, but it's still super fun. It was, in my opinion, the most fun out of the 5 of these maps. And I like how it's kind of like self-referential. Like we're playing Beat Saber, red to blue to red, whatever. And also as a side result of not having a lot of diagonals to make the flow smoother, it will, as a result, increase the skill ceiling for the high score leaderboard. So just something to note. I enjoyed all of these, none of them are bad. In fact, I think this is the mapping style that was sorely needed in OST Volume 1 for Expert Plus. All super good. Some of them could have used tweaks. Actually, all of them could have used tweaks. None of them were perfect. In Imagine Dragons and Camellia, I thought some of those maps were pretty close to perfect. These are much further from it, but they're still enjoyable. Alright, next we're going to do a couple of songs from extras. We already did Camellia, so that knocks 3 off of there. I'm not going to do Angel Voices because I want to do that at the same time as OST Volume 1 because they were made around a similar period. And Angel Voices Expert Plus has a lot of the same issues as OST Volume 1, so we will do that. with that video, OST Volume 1. So we're just going to do 3 of the songs. We're going to do Crab Rave, One Hope, and KDA Pop Stars. So we're going to start out with, I think One Hope was done first. So we're going to do that one. One Hope has a lot of commonalities with OST Volume 2. So it's fitting to do this in the same video. One thing I do want to note is I seriously think that the spawn distance in this map was changed post the initial release. I don't think the mapping was changed, just the note jump speed or spawn distance or whatever, because I remember these notes being super far out. If anybody knows if that's true or not, I would love to know. So right away, this song is going to turn a lot of people off because it's basically just a wall of noise the entire time. And make no mistakes, I do not enjoy this song. I would not listen to this in my car, you know, on the way to work. But in Beat Saber, I'm totally cool with it, and I like it. That's the case with a lot of music in Beat Saber. I also like how these are staggered just a little bit to match the music more accurately. They were all staggered by like 1/16 or something. One thing I did notice about the mapping in this is that it's extra vanilla. It's not even side hits, really. There's only been a couple, like right then. It's mostly up, downs, and angles. Mapping changing just very slightly during this breakdown, but not much. And one thing that that the OST mapping has been super good about is the rhythms. Like, they map it super accurately to the actual rhythm of the song. And that's not something that can be said for a lot of custom mapping. I did go back and then check out Overkill right at the end. So Freak had the right idea with it being, it was 3 or 4 notes at the end. No, it was 4 notes. But I went back and checked it. They were supposed to be at 1/6. But he actually mapped them to like 1/12 or something. But it was supposed to be 1/6. Just something. I just spot checked myself. After I did that song, after I did that video, I went back, listened to the audio like really slow over and over again. There were 4 drum hits at 1/6, but in the OST map they were 1/12, I think. Anyway, One Hope, super decent, nothing amazing, kind of boring, but it really fills a niche in Expert Plus mapping where people need that one map that helps transition them to the harder E+ maps, and this map does exactly what it needs to for that. So I can't see a lot of people coming back for this map. It's kind of like a stepping stone for other Expert Plus maps, but overall pretty decent. Not really much to complain about. When they did have side notes, they were kind of awkward. That's really all I can complain about, however. Next map we're going to do is Pop Stars, because that one came out afterward. This is the only map in OST besides Crab Rave that features custom colors. And it was also the first map to come out with its own custom platform, which is super neat. Fun fact about this, if you watch the video of this with Madison Beer, I think her name is, you can actually hear a lot of missing noises in it. Some fun crossovers going on. Okay, so this mapping style I think requires a different note jump speed and offset. So I'm just gonna actually, let's determine it on our own. 170 BPM. So it's 170 BPM. Then we are going to do 0.7 spawn offset. Because I want to give this map as fair of a shake as I can give it, just based on the mapping alone. And maybe this isn't the pure way to experience the map, but I think it's the best way. Basically, doing 0.7 spawn offset makes it either easier for me to keep up with the rhythm, because this mapping is super technical. And when you do a technical map, you need the notes closer to you, or else it's super hard to keep up. So far, mapping's been pretty good, just some awkward spots. And of course the chord pattern to this right there. Almost all of the KDA pop stars have a pattern similar to this during that section. And of course matching the lyrics with the down, 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 because everyone would do that. Why wouldn't you? Some good mapping practices in here, but some of it doesn't match the song like it should. But overall, it does match where it needs to. But I think a little bit too many liberties are being taken. And when that happens again, I'll point it out as it happens, where I think that liberties are being taken with the song in favor of mapping. I think that's the first time I've ever seen bomb strip. It's not a bomb strip in the sense that it takes up all 4 of the lanes, but it's a bomb strip in the sense that it's in the 2 center lanes, and it's forcing it to go through your body. I hate it. I hate it. This is supposed to be like a super good VR game in terms of comfort. The only thing that's uncomfortable about this game really is the fact that there's a big cliff all around you. And for, let's say, newbies who come in to Beat Saber and have to accept the fact that bombs can go through your chest, kind of weird, and still don't agree with that. So I kind of wish those bombs would have had a space in one of the center 2 lanes. So either the bomb on the right could have been pushed out to the right lane, or the bomb on the left pushed to the left lane to make space for your body. Just something I want to point out. That was kind of wonky. That was a super weird rhythm. You know, I want to try something. So I said those bombs go in your chest. I just want to experiment. What if I were to jump over those? You better be playing with your wrists for this map. If you're playing with your arms, you're gonna slap yourself real good. I mean, it works! If you want to jump for those, you can jump over them. It's mapped in a way to where you can do it. I'm pretty sure that wasn't intentional, though. Pretty cool map, lots of interesting stuff in it. I don't hate it. There's a couple of weird stuff that can be changed, just like all the maps preceding Imagine Dragons and Camellia. There's something to complain about. But it's shippable, right? So a lot of maps get to a point of polish where you can just ship it out and you don't really have to touch it too much. You're going to satisfy the majority of the people. But it's in a good state, like it is, except maybe the offset just a little bit because it makes the rhythm a little awkward to keep up with. Alright, now last song is Crab Rave. So this also has the custom colors. The green and blue is supposed to be the sand, or the grass, and the trees. And a lot of the movements are supposed to make you feel like a crab, and it kind of succeeds in that. And I like bombs. Also, the only song to use the Monster Cat environment that's not in the Monster Cat music pack. Just my dog barking. Also, kind of a famous pattern going on right here. This pattern I first saw in Mr. Blue Sky. But it is super fun even though it's an oldie. That specific pattern though that I mentioned from Mr. Blue Sky, I'd rather have a space in between them, just because of overlapping hitboxes, etc. But it works in its current form in this map. It's just kind of ugly to look at. That red is kind of an eyesore with these colors. Really good map, if not the best, out of all the songs I played today. Pretty much perfect in its current form. There's nothing that, I mean, there's stuff I would change, but there's nothing that needs to be changed or even close to being a need to change. Everything was good today. I didn't play any bad maps from OST Volume 1. This is where the cracks do start to show, though, in the mapping. I came off with really positive vibes from Imagine Dragons and the Camellia songs. I had little to no complaints with those. I'm having a bit more as we're going back in the timeline. But overall, still solid and exactly what I expect from the OST mapping, at least at this point in time. When we get to OST Volume 1, my tune will change quite a lot. But that's a video for another day, so I hope you all enjoyed and have a great day.